Well, today's the big day. BLGS does continue for qualifier number 2, and a lot of teams are obviously under heavy microscopes after last week's performance. And how will we basically wrap this one up? Because we're going to take a little bit of a break after this one until we get into the next split of BLGS qualifiers. Anyhow, meaning it's not going to be back-to-back weeks. So after this one, there's going to be a little bit of a break. So gear up. This one is important, especially if you're into any recency bias. And specifically when we talk about recency bias, we got to talk about Dojo. This is one team, and so we'll break down a couple of these teams that we're looking after today, and also talk about Rambo and his future in this game. So firstly, let's dive into the Dojo. So this team obviously is one of Timmy, it's one of Jin Burton, and it's also one of Designful. We knew this team was coming together a couple of weeks ago. We were kind of excited about it. This is going to be kind of this, like, all of these outcasts getting together because they've been on their rosters. The rosters didn't work out. They all come into one. So especially with the whole Jin Burton drama and how he got dropped with Falcons, a lot of people wanting to get behind this roster. Unfortunately, as you guys know, there was visa issues with Zero. There was visa issues with Jin Burton. Neither of them could play for their corresponding teams. However, Zero's going to be in full gear, full phase, it seems, this go round. So interested to see how that team does. But Jin Burton, on the other hand, not the case. They've been playing with Rambo, and in week number 1 got 8th place in scrims as of late. Haven't looked too bad. As we look at this, a lot of people are wondering, okay, well, what is the truth about Rambo here? Because is he just going to be a sub? But then think about it. Like, if this is the case, of course, Jin Burton's really not very replaceable. But Rambo, is he a good asset for some of these other teams to look at? I mean, obviously, he's showing himself to be worthy. Is he going to be someone that could upgrade a roster? Because there was a lot of, I guess, opinions about Rambo over the last couple of months. Like, oh, he's not the same as he used to be, blah, blah, blah. Now people are looking at this with a different light. Maybe some of these struggling pro league teams could consider Rambo, especially if he continues to increase his stock like this. TJ had mentioned on the competitive Apex Reddit thread saying, I see that Rambo is still filling in for Jin. What do we think about him? Because if you don't know Rambo, he is a very, very unique individual. Only one of few, him and Jen, that still use Classic, but Rambo is on 3 Classic. That guy has got some seriously slow sensitivity. But do we think he's a top 5? Do we think he's a top 10? Now people in the comments, and they've seen good placements, are saying Rambo's very good fill-in for Jin, and he's been doing great. But yes, there's been plenty of times where Jin would have made a difference, and that maybe Jin, would have caused Dojo to win BLGS, is what they're saying now, as at least some of the comments here. Funnily enough, Design has been stepping up to clutch their fights the last few days. So between Dez and Rambo, they're covering for Jin quite well. I think this team is shaping up to have another good BLGS weekend. But Rambo has definitely been getting a lot more praise, saying he's the definition of solid. He's a lot limits his mistakes very well. He's not one who's flashy. He's not one who's just this cracked out, insane critical player, but he does the small things well. You don't catch him lacking very often. He's just simply doing what he's supposed to do, and he does it consistently. So not only are we looking for Dojo to possibly have another good week, and maybe can they do some crazy upset week, I think this team winning would definitely have a lot of people surprised. On the flip side, where does Rambo go after this? And is he considering, or is he going to be considered as a very sought after player that some of these other teams that are struggling might want to go for to increase their likelihood of winning? Now, also, you got to make mention of Falcon Esports. Let's just talk about some of the bigger teams in this. BLGS, you've got Tripods winning first place in scrims yesterday, Furia in second place. I don't think you can doubt Furia whatsoever. They are by far one of the favorited teams to win BLGS. They get finals last time. They're a very consistent team inside of BLGS scrims. They're constantly winning, getting top 3. They're never out of the conversation. They're going through that phase they did a couple of months ago where they're always top 3 in scrims. Question is, can they correlate that into actual tournament results? Furia in second, Irex in third, Bleed Esports in fourth, NRG in fifth, Team Falcons in 6th. And obviously, if you haven't seen already, Zero's been doing this whole shake up, change, shift thing where he was going to Canada. This is going to be a crazy moment for Zero because he had a lot of traveling to do. But Falcons obviously playing yesterday. They were playing with empty because Zero is currently in that travel mode. Moist Esports, on the other hand, obviously Empty's playing because they're sitting off very nice just after winning last week. So, yeah, I know they're feeling great. Falcons in 6th, though. Liquid Alienware in 7th. Yup in 8th. Oblivion in 9th. TSM in 10th. TSM, another team I think we've all got eyes on. They came very close to winning last week until Moist was able to clutch it up there in the end. Cloud9 in 11th. I think this is another team that we're all watching because they kind of, let's just be honest. Yeah, Cloud9 was a disappointment, but I don't think it was like, oh my gosh, they suck, right? There was a lot of teams that disappointed us, like Falcons and NIP and many others. Bleed Esports, really, even though they made finals, it was kind of disappointing. It's not what we expected. And honestly, the standard of this game is if you're not top 5 in finals, it's a disappointment, I guess. So Cloud9 is one that I know can do better than what they did last week. I guess that's really the disappointment. We know they could do better, but don't think that they're necessarily struggling by any means. Just got to show up this next week. Things are obviously different every week. Anybody can win on any given day. Broski's in 12th, Stallions in 13th, Motion in 14th, LG in 15th. Another one of my teams that I think is super solid, has a chance to win any given week. But I feel like LG does better in actual tournaments than they do scrims. No Name and Furia sometimes is the complete opposite. No Name in 16th, Dojo in 17th, FSC in 18th, Complexity in 19th, and Purple Slushy in last. Now, as you go into some of these EMEA scrims, you see some also different results. DJ Connor Ford in first place. You've got Navi in second. A big week for Navi. They're one of these teams that can shut down and dominate back-to-back wins in a big high-level lobby. I find themselves very often, though, playing to the level of their competition and not necessarily getting that exact performance that they're looking to get inside of tournaments. SJP2 in third. Very high-level roster we've been covering over the last couple of days as well. FaZe also fourth place. The boys here in fifth place. Noctum in sixth. Full English in seventh. Eternal. Go next. Team name VCGO, SMT, Dearthblock, NIP in 14th. Big team right here. Obviously getting first Dade. What did they get? Second rounded, I think, last week. That's not a good look for them. Obviously, they've got a lot of work to prove here. But these are just scrims, and not all of this can really be taken seriously. As you can see, many players on this team because they didn't actually even play all the maps. I think they only played like 4 games or so. So not a lot you can look into this. Aurora with the same scenario. A lot of these teams were swapped out, especially as you get here towards the bottom. So not going to mention it too much. The point regardless, though, is that it's going to be a big weekend. APAC North is actually gearing up for their first as well. Already started at the time of recording this. Round 1 is going on right now. I think they're literally only like 2 games into this. And so, you're seeing some big names in this as well, right? Striders. Obviously, if you go down the list, there's plenty, but we've got a ton of groups. I'm really surprised by how much BLGS packed itself out. A ton of teams have signed up for this, just over all regions, really. So it's exciting to see more competition. Reject Winity in here as well. Interforce 36. The list goes on. Much, much more. Also, APAC South looking to do the exact same. They are currently in round 1. I think they're only in game 2 of their round 1. So obviously we'll have more updates over the next couple of days as these do finish. But yeah, plenty of really good teams. Don't forget this one, Only Get Gone. Roe has actually done really well in the last win. I'm interested to see if they can follow it up with a back-to-back really good weeks for BLGS. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Who do you got going out in a defeat today? Who's a big upset today? Does NIP get day 1 again this week? I don't think so. I think they'll bounce back with a pretty good week. Hopefully that is the case, but we know, statistically speaking, there's too many pro teams out there that everybody knows somebody is bound to get upset. Someone is bound to miss out, maybe day 1, probably day 2, and definitely miss out on finals. Let us know what your predictions are down in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you want to stay up to date with all things inside of the world of Apex Legends esports news, and we'll keep you up to date. And if things get crazy, we'll be back at it later today. And until the next time, we'll see you all later, Gators.